Oh, hello, Whovians. I understand you're watching me. Well, I'm watching you too. How much is this? Not a rubbish.
Welcome. Yes, we are back once again. We are the Whovians, and we have gathered here this time to talk about a story which has a possessed Tegan, yes, a possessed Tegan, the fifth Doctor, and a big snake. Yes, it is the one and only Kinder. So, let's see what Lee has to say about this episode.
Thanks, Alid. Well, as everybody should know by now, I'm not a big fan of the Davison era on TV. But I do like this story. It's, for me, Kinder, compared to Snake Dance, which is everybody's sort of favourite of this one, Kinder, for me, is my favourite. It's, story-wise, it's sort of, for me personally, it's a take on the Adam and Eve, Eden, temptation by the snake, and they've even got the apple in there. And, you know, the brilliant performances from Richard Todd, Mary Morris as the old woman. But for me, Salmon Rouse as Hindle just steals the show. His madness, his insanity, as he just spirals and spirals down, is just brilliant. Davison, okay, yeah, it was his first season. He's just getting into the role. Nissa, well, she's bookend of the story, really, beginning and end. And Tegan, she's fast asleep most of the time in this one. And there's a few things what spoil it for me. Matthew Wathouse's acting is appalling. It's studio bound, and you can see it's studio bound. And the snake at the end, what were they thinking? It was just, that snake was just awful. But if you've got the DVD, you can replace that snake with a new CGI effect, and it's a hell of a lot better. Yeah, I like it. It's a good, solid story, and for me, this one does stand above Snake Dance. And there has been a sequel written for Big Finish audio. If you can find that one, Cradle of the Snake, that carries on the trilogy of the Mara. And what a brilliant creation the Mara is. So for that, and like you said, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
A 7.5. Thank you, Lee. Now, let's go over to Beef. What does Beef have to say about Kinder?
I do like Davison on the whole and everything like that, but this one, I just find it hard going. I do. It's I like science fiction, I like historical, but this is where Doctor Who gets into the mystic, into the mythic. Yes, there are the allegories of Adam and Eve and the snake and temptation and the apples dropping. There's also a lot of high concept Buddhist theories that are interwoven into it. The writer was a Buddhist, so you've got the idea of Durga being, what's it called, temptation and everything like that. So it just gets a bit mashed up and confusing for a viewer. I would certainly say, as if you're a younger viewer, you're not going to really get much clue of what's going on. It does look studio bound, like Lee says, and aside from, well, this, the nervous breakdown is expressed really well, but it just gets really, really irritating as time goes on. It just seems drawn out. I wish it was an episode shorter. The notable performances that Lee has put out, absolutely spot on. The internal mind sequences of Tegan, they're okay, but it's sort of it just grates on me. I found it very hard going watching the 4 episodes of it, even spaced out by a day. The performances are good, the story's okay, but for me, it's sort of one that I can really leave. I do prefer Snake Dance. For me, it's the stronger story. I think when we last reviewed it, it's something I did. I drew Snake on my arm and everything like that as a very young child. It did stick with me. This one didn't. It's just, sometimes Doctor Who does the mystic very well, but this one didn't do it for me. It's a high concept, but I think it's limited by the constraints of what was the production at the time, and perhaps with a different director, something like that, it could have been done a lot better. But it just seemed a lot of mishmash, and the Doctor goes on a great trip. That for me is the highlight. The highlight is the trip and the fool trying to be the society bridge and everything like that. I did like Nerys Hughes. I did like the idea that the women were the dominant factor in the society. But aside from that, mate, it's a 6 for me. Not a great one.
Thank you, Beef. Now from one beef to another, let's go over to Beef Dad.
Good evening. I disagree with everybody. I remember when this was first broadcast, and it was the first time really that Doctor Who had gone away from historical and or science fiction and had gone more towards the spiritual. And yeah, it worked for me. The whole idea of this planet and this Eden, this paradise, as Richard Todd calls it. One of the things about it is the claustrophobic element of the planet itself. There are trees everywhere, there are plants everywhere, they're all sort of closing in on Hindle, who does his brilliant breakdown on screen. They've never actually showed anything like that before. And I think the whole studio use there contributed very much to the claustrophobic element, which contributed to his breakdown. Yeah, the stuff that went on in Tegan's mind, well, I didn't really mind about that. It was nice to see a very brief cameo by Anna Wing, who would go on to be a very big EastEnders soap star, as the matriarch of a family. Plus that extraordinary Annika, played by Roger Milner, with that amazing hairdo. I mean, really speaking, those two would not have been out of place in sort of a Tim Burton film, to be perfectly honest. They were absolutely brilliant. Nyssa, I never missed her one little bit. Tegan, every now and then I wanted to slap her around. Adric, every time he came on screen, I wanted to slap him around. Mary Morris gave an incredible performance as Panna, the seer. She was just absolutely brilliant. But I don't ever remember Mary Morris turning in a dodgy performance. The woman was an incredible actress who could go from sort of science fiction right through the classics. She was absolutely superb actress. Same with Richard Todd. Richard Todd was brilliant in this. I mean, from being the big I am, and I'm in charge, and you will do what I say, to basically a grown-up kid helping his friend who's had a mental breakdown build a city out of cardboard boxes. I mean, the man was an absolute genius. He was nominated for Oscars and everything. I remember seeing him in 1981 on stage in London in a play called The Business of Murder, in which he was as scary and as creepy as all get out. But it was, for me, it did it. I've always considered this probably absolutely the best thing to come out of the Fifth Doctor's era. I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was really clever. It was groundbreaking. Yes, they've probably done it better since, but this was the first time. For me, it gets a 9.
Thank you, Beef Dad, a 9. Now let's go over to our local librarian. Let's go over to Harry.
Well, I have to admit, I'm not a fan of Kinda. I'm not a fan of the story. To me, it's not science fiction. It's fantasy. And that's the way the guy who wrote it set it up that way. Too much Tolkien and not enough science fiction. And for example, the scene in Tegan's dream where she sees two people playing droughts on an infinite set, that you have to look at that as if that's the interior of the TARDIS, and that's Nyssa and Adric playing the game that she saw earlier. To me, too much allegory, not enough science fiction. I give this story a 0. I repeat, a 0. I hated it. I did not care for it one bit. The book is decent, but by Terrence Six, but Terrence has his problems with doing Davison stories. His description of Peter is a young man with an open face, almost like a sandwich. Very hard for American fans to get a description of Peter when you're doing a Terrence Six story. Nothing against Terrence. I love his work normally. I gotta give this book a 4.
Thank you, Harry. I need to recover after that. I really do. I need to lie down. So now, without further ado, let's go over to Connor. What does Connor say about Kinder?
On a slightly lighter note, I quite enjoyed this story, actually. I saw the Adam and Eve elements to it. I sort of liked the psychedelic elements to it as well, at times, particularly in the end of the third part with the whole illusion of the past and the future. I liked Todd as a sort of substitute for Nyssa. I wish Nyssa was in it, but I did enjoy Todd accompanying the Doctor around as sort of the intellectual female of the clan. Tegan, yeah, she was asleep for most of it, didn't really do much. Adric was terrible, as always. He never really had any redeeming factors about him, in my opinion. I liked the old woman, Panna. Thought she was probably the best performance of the entire thing. I just enjoyed her as a character in general. The Mara is a great design. I hope it does come back. It's been rumoured for years that it'd come back, and I'm hoping that one day they'll fulfil that. I think Peter Davison, sort of, because this is only his third story as the Doctor, he's sort of still getting into it a bit. I felt that at times, but I think he's putting on a great performance here. This is probably his best of his first season. Yeah, in general, I think it's a great story. Probably not to everyone's liking, but I sort of like the fantastical sort of elements to it. Although sci-fi would have been better in it as well, I think. Yeah, I'll give this story a 7 out of 10.
A 7 out of 10 from Connor. Thank you, Connor. Now let's see what Jason thinks. Go ahead, Jason.
I actually do like this story. I mean, even especially the part of when you have Tegan going in this like area in this nightmare dream situation. I actually quite enjoyed that one. A little bit more creepy scenes between it, but definitely enjoyable to watch. Also with Todd's performance, playing by Neris Hughes, I enjoyed her performance. She definitely did a great job on that one. Same with Simon Rose, who plays Hindle. Definitely a great performance by him, from his like as being the mentor crazy guy. Sanders, I really enjoy his character being the tough guy, bad guy. Oh, not tough guy, bad guy, but tough guy, captain guy, and then turning all happy and joy and being there for those. I do enjoy the Kinda, and Mara definitely a top-notch villain on this one. This is why I like this story. I mean, you got the whole nightmare dream going on. You got the the tribe of the Kinda, and then you got these people who are out to get the Kinda in a way, but then how this whole story works out. Definitely really enjoy it. Even especially the box itself. Especially if you when you open it and you're like mentally insane and you like look into it, like definitely changes your whole mindset. If you're into story itself. I definitely enjoyed this one. Definitely great performance of most of the actors. I mean, I know in Nissa didn't really do much. I mean, just in the beginning a bit and just in the end. And Tegan, not very much of her, even though it's always was some, just most of the nightmare stuff. And then how she's going to deal with Mara. I mean, the Mara story arc, I definitely enjoy. I know I really love the snake dance, but this one's definitely a good one as well. As for Adric, yeah, I know people do not like him. Poor Adric. I mean, Adric, I do not hate Adric. I mean, I know he's got some moods or whatever with him that, yeah, may not be the best character, but I don't hate Adric. But anyways, yeah, I would definitely give the story a 9 to 10 because I really had no issue with the story. I mean, definitely one of the best stories for Peter Davison.
Thank you, Jason. Now, let's go over to Lady Neo.
Kenda, how I love Kenda. I actually like the main reason I like Kenda is because it's right after Fort of Doomsday. I didn't really notice that until I saw the last bit of Fort of Doomsday, and I was just like, oh crap, this goes into Kenda. How cool. No, not a few months, not a few days, boom, right afterward. Let's see who else I loved. Loved Hindle, especially I loved Hindle when he was going crazy and screaming for his mommy. That was the best part of Hindle. The Kinda people, I love the Kinda people. I love their culture and how they don't really have to worry about much of sickness or anything like that. And I guess people like Hindle and Sanders and maybe Todd, they're not used to having such a peaceful nature. You know, they're more of a city, I guess you call them city folk. Now, the story in general was pretty good. The Mara, awesome. The whole thing with the snake, Adam and Eve references. Okay, I get it. But the story as a whole, it did have a little bit of little holes in it, but it worked. I know it's more fantasy than science fiction, but it has a little tiny bit of science fiction in there. Just a little. Just to say, we're still Doctor Who, but we're going to push the fantasy card to see how well it goes. And it did really well. And then to make it even better, they did a second part to it and say, hey, look, we're going to do Snake Dance. And I guess people loved it more, and they did something in Big Finish, too. Was it Cradle of the Mara, I believe? So, yeah, it works. The Mara works. Would I love to see the Mara come back in a more modern day Who? Yes, I would. So, overall, I would give this, I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Thank you, Lady Neo. And now to me. Well, this is one, when I was a kid, when I first watched this, I didn't really like it. I remember not liking this as a kid. And I don't think generally kids would like this one. I mean, I didn't like it as a kid, but now I watch it now, I like it a lot more. I mean, you've obviously got the special effects, like the snake, which is just, the effects don't look good, But I think the jungle does look pretty good. I think overall, I think the jungle does look pretty good. I think it's quite a good set. But like I say, the snake really lets it down. I mean, at the end. But you've got Tegan in this, who's possessed. And she's brilliant, I think. I'm a Tegan fan anyway. And I think she's great in this. I like it when she's in that, in her mind or whatever she's in, that place. That I like the lighting. It's very dark. And then you've got these white, creepy people. They're really weird and quite scary. And they're playing chess or whatever they're doing. And Yeah, I like that. It's there's bad bits in it. You know, there's bits that I don't understand, and there's bits that are a little bit nah. But the supporting cast are great. You know, the one who goes mad, and then you've got Todd, and then you've you know, they're great. And the blind woman's great. The woman who plays the blind woman, she's great in it. But I have noticed that when they're sitting at the table, Adric and the Doctor, and they're eating that Angel Delight, Adric eats two because he goes for the Doctors as well. So I noticed that. But Peter Davison does say in it that Adric's a hungry boy. You know, he does like to eat in it. And there's another story that Adric likes to eat in, which is oh God, it's escaped my mind now. What is it?
Black Orchid.
Black Orchid. That's it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but I do prefer Snake Dance. Yeah, I do. I think that's the better story, personally. But I do like this one. Yeah, I do like this one, but I prefer Snake Dance. So I'm going to give this one, I think I'm going to give it a 7.5, actually. 7.5. Yeah. All right, then. Well, I'm going to throw the floor open to whoever wants to speak.
Couple quick things I found, Aled. One, you notice Sarah Sutton was not very visible in this story. Reason why is that when Sarah's contract was signed, she only signed for 22 out of the 26 episodes of the season. So they, in effect, had to write her out of Kinda because of that simple fact that they had to take her out of 4 episodes, and this was the one story they could do it with. Item number 2. Peter Grimwade, who directed this story, had a problem with timing. He was shooting on the set, and it was basically getting too close for comfort, so they had to modify some things and to get the timing down right. And one thing they had to do was modify the appearance of the Mara. It was originally supposed to be something more along the lines of CGI, like Snake Dance, but because they were running short on time, they had to do the puppet thing, and that's why it didn't come across as well as what they originally had planned.
And the cliffhanger to, I think it's episode 2, when they open the box to see what's in the box, Todd actually screams before the box is even opened. Which is a bit, you know, you think she scream after the box is opened, but no, she screams before the box is opened.
Well, it is Neris Hughes, and you've got to remember she did go on to become one of the original Liverbirds.
Or was before that, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
Before,
you know,
I can't remember if it was before or after.
Before Liverbirds was before this. I mean, he's not credited as well. This was one of the very first on-screen appearances of Johnny Lee Miller, who you remember from Trainspotting as one of the kids. You have to excuse me if I sort of refer to a crib sheet on this, but I don't have the great theological knowledge that Jimmy, who sadly can't be with us today, usually has. But to give you an idea of what the Buddhist overview in this is, and if you once you've got that, it does sort of make it have a bit more sense. Mara in Buddhist terminology is temptation. Dukkha, which is the sort of creepy clown type thing that you get in the vision, which who was Reg in The Bill for a lot of you in the UK who watched that. That's suffering. Panna, a woman, is wisdom. Then you've got Karuna, which was compassion. Anika, which is impermanence, which is the idea of the wheel and the old man again. Yeah. Anatta, without self. And the box, the jhana box, is a Buddhist meditative state of full immersion. So I get that sort of gives you the idea of the reversing to childishness, or by the end of the story, the sort of reset that you get of it by the end of it. I'm disappointed there wasn't a resolution personally of the other people who vanished on the expedition, because they sort of got short shrift. Everyone else got a happy ending, but they're just like wandering the forest and the jungle alone on their own. But yeah, you can see the Buddhist construct that goes all the way through that, and it does stay true to that.
I really like I really like the mind-controlled transporter. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Although it doesn't look like much of an all-terrain vehicle, does it?
Pardon?
It doesn't look like much of an all-terrain vehicle, really.
No, not really. But I like the concept of it. That it's mind-controlled.
It doesn't have a very imaginative name either, does it?
No, not really. No.
And pith helmets for explorers in a new world. Every explorer has to have a pith helmet.
That was a brilliant anachronism for me. Yeah, that when the Kinder that had been sort of taken over with Hindle got dressed up. They're all in uniform and they've all got the pith helmet. That was just magical. But as you say, every explorer must have a pith helmet, otherwise he's not a proper explorer. Richard Todd, brilliant. Mary Morris, I've seen her in many things, on stage as well as in films and on the television, and she was just absolutely extraordinary. But it was a wonderfully controlled performance by young Sarah Prince playing Karuna. It was brilliantly under control, as opposed to Adric, who wasn't under control. Mind you, I don't think the writing was very sympathetic towards him. I think he was really written, basically, there as a total brat, who really, if he wasn't listened to immediately, would basically stamp his foot. And that's one of the reasons why I felt every now and then I just wanted to slap him. And yeah, as I say, I think it was the directing and the writing that really made Adric so damn unpopular in this, because I cannot remember anybody at the time who enjoyed him or his performance. Everybody just hated him and wanted to smack him.
We don't condone violence on here, can I add?
Oh, no, of course not.
We don't condone violence.
No, unless it's Adric.
We make an exception, yeah.
You also may notice one of the tribesmen was Glenn Murphy, who you saw later on in Trial of a Time Lord, went on to be Dipper as well. Yeah, there is a real veritable who's of 80s BBC TV. Yeah, Adrian Mills, you may, for those of you who are old enough, went on to be on That's Life with Esther Ranson for many, many years.
Oh, God, yes.
With comedically shaped vegetables. And talking.
Yes, I tried to forget about that.
But yeah, it's a high concept. From the Buddhist point of view, everything is cyclical.
Anybody have anything else to add?
It's a very druid thing. It's a very druid base as well, which is that everything goes in cycles.
And there's a lot of Aris.
Yes, get on with it. Okay. That's it.
Anybody have anything else to add? Right. Well, that's your lot for today. Yes. Don't forget to tell us what you think about Kinder in the comment box below. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Why don't you like it? Why do you like it? And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, everything else. And we'll see you next time. And look after yourself. And as ever, keep on hooing.